For heaven's sakes, when is the church abuse going to stop? Enough already! Women victims of exploitation by another Catholic Church order. God's work. That is how Opus Dei translates from Latin, a group founded in 1928 by the Spanish priest José María Escrivá de Balaguer. It has 90,000 members and is present in nearly 70 countries. Welcome to Radio Labio's English program, where I share the most interesting notes of the day that you may not have had time to catch up on. I'm Juan Andrés. I podcast in English and Spanish to ensure that all Latinos can have access to our programs regardless of what language they speak. Thanks for listening. A group that received the favor of John Paul II, who canonized Escrivá in 2002, reports directly to the pontiff in many ways. It has many lay members, women with jobs and families to sanctify ordinary life, and members such as priests and celibate laity. The one that has been the subject of many scandals over time, and that this time it's a big one. Lucia Jimenez assures that her knees continue to suffer the pain of scrubbing for hours the floors of the men's bathrooms of an Opus Dei residence in Buenos Aires, Argentina, an arduous job that she carried out since she was 16 years of age. Keep in mind, 16-year-olds are minors. Another example, he was in the ultra-conservative order since the early 1980s in Paraguay, South America, his native country. He hoped to fulfill the promise they made of receiving higher education that would allow him to improve his living conditions, but he only received instructions to carry out domestic tasks in centers, residences, and retirement homes of the Opus Dei. She was an auxiliary numerary for 18 years. That is the name given to women who do housework and celibacy in the organization. She says that she cleaned bathrooms, washed clothes, and attended to members of Opus Dei on days beyond the 8 hours established by law, and breaks only when the Opus Dei ate or prayed. 36-year-old Jimenez has filed a complaint with the Vatican against Opus Dei after 41 women joined the indictment for alleged labor exploitation, abuse of power, and conscience. The women from Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, and Bolivia are sure that they have worked for the order between 1974 and 2015 in various territories of South America, Italy, and even Kazakhstan. They were recruited and separated from their families when they were teenagers. They were promised an education, but ended up scrubbing floors. Another group of former auxiliary numeraries have filed a complaint with the Vatican. I hated doing the baths, and they always told me to do them. I was tired of the pain in my knees, of kneeling to do the showers. I never saw any money. They told us it was going in a direct payment envelope to the center where we were staying, and I supposedly depended on them that was true. He said that under these conditions you have to endure because you have a total surrender to God, no matter what we ask. They have their humble origins in common, as well as the fact that they were separated from their families as girls between the ages of 12 and 16 years of age. This is the part that absolutely baffles me. 12-year-olds. I have a 10-year-old daughter. She's not mentally developed to handle anything as serious as being taken away from her family and instituted and used. Wow. In some cases, Opus Dei even circumvented immigration checkpoints to take them to other countries. They knew they were doing wrong. You can't take a minor to another country without their parents' approval in writing. Most of them requested the dispensation when the demand to which they were subjected at various levels was intolerable. They say they were left to their own devices, penniless, and in need of psychological treatment when no longer they were needed by the Opus Dei. Penniless, because they never saw any money. They were just told, we're sending it to where you're staying. And I suppose that meant that pays for room and board. In other words, they were indentured servants of the Opus Dei. Do you understand? When they don't see any money and it's supposed to pay for your food and room and board, that's called indentured servants. The hierarchy of the Opus Dei is aware of these practices. It is an internal policy of the Opus Dei. Women throughout the world having to do with Opus Dei are subjected to the same treatment worldwide. However, Opus Dei says that it knows nothing about the complaints to the Vatican. These accusations resemble those brought by some women with another conservative Catholic organization that was highly respected by the Vatican, the Legion of Christ, which actively recruited young women to become consecrated members of the Regnum Christi, its lay branch. So I'm going to skip the details because they're really horrific, and totally unacceptable. All I'm concerned about, I'm a Catholic, and I mount these programs because I think that it's important that we know that we as lay people have to protect our religion. I'm not the best Catholic in the world, I'm going to tell you right now. Sometimes I even complain about going to Mass. But I am a Catholic. And I do care about what happens to our religion. I'm Juan Andres. You can find us on more than 60 sites on the internet where you can listen to our podcast. Just ask Google Radio Labio and you'll have choices. And then you can pick whichever one you want. On my behalf, as well as my colleague Ivan Encinas and our manager and fellow on-air personality, Francisco Maldonado, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.